And see, Madam Clerk, will you call roll, please?
Commissioner Bartleman.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
I'm here.
Commissioner Parker.
Here.
Judge Clymer.
Here. And Commissioner Bartleman, you offer our prayer, please.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for the blessings of this day. We thank you for the opportunity we have to gather together to conduct the business of this county. Just pray you be with us as we make decisions that will be best for all and will make life better for all. We pray for all our first responders in the city and the county. Be with them as they perform their duties to keep us safe, and just give them safe travel and performing their duties. Father, we're so thankful for what you do for us. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, stand and join me in the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make sure you
All
pull
right,
my
we
chair
need
out.
to approve the consent agenda.
So made.
Second.
Second.
Second. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Budget transfers.
It is ordered that the necessary cash transfers in the amount of $510,000 be made in order to pay county bills and payroll approved June 28, 2021.
So made.
Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Accounts payable.
It is ordered to approve the vouchers claims register from June 14, 2021 to June 28, 2021 to show county bills in the amount of $528,348.59 were paid.
So moved.
Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. And then we have under discussion, Ms. Pickle, Jonna Pickle. Would you come up to the lectern, please? And we want to introduce Ms. Pickle. Hired her. This body has hired her as Steve Doolittle's administrative assistant. It'd be nice if you guys could meet her here a little bit. If you could give us just a short description of your background, where you came from. She's very impressive, very highly qualified. Hear what she has to say. We need to toot your own horn.
Well, what led me to this position, I was the administrative assistant for Tucker Daniel. He was a judge in County, as far east as you can go, for 11 and a half years. What I did, our road department handled the animal control, so I didn't have a whole lot of that. Actually, what I did, handled coal severance dollars, everything, all the scheduling, did all that for the judge. Basically, I feel like I've come back home. It's kind of the same job. Everyone has been very accommodating. Everybody's welcomed me. It's been a very good month. 3 weeks, I guess I should say. Vicki has been amazing. Judge Clymer has been amazing. My husband is the general manager for UPS here in Paducah. We've moved a lot for him to promote. We're hoping, and it's looking like they're going to leave us here for a while, and I hope so. We live at the lake 90% of the time. We like Lake Barkley, Lake Kentucky Lake. More than anything, just being in the local government system, again, that intrigues me. I really am looking forward to seeing things go with McCracken County, the way the sports complex, things that are going on right now. It's exciting. It's exciting for this county, and I'm proud of it.
Thank you. Will there be any questions? Nice day. Welcome to Paducah.
All right. Thank you. Then we have Bruce Wilcox here for a presentation. I see you brought the big guy, the new chair, the chief head.
Brought out the A-team for you.
Scoring you on how you do? Or?
Just making sure we do it right. No, we are honored to have J.P. Kelly with us. J.P. is our incoming chair for the 21-22 Board of Directors. So J.P.'s a wealth of knowledge, a great supporter. Consider him a friend, and we're really excited about J.P. being our chair this coming year. So before I begin this evening, I want to thank all of you for allowing Greater Paducah Economic Development to provide our quarterly update. So Judge Clymer, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to come before you this evening. And I would be remiss this evening if I didn't also thank you for your partnership and your support with GPED. McCracken County continues to be a great partner with GPED, and your partnership with us enables us to do the work that we have to do. So our fiscal year end is June 30th. We have contracts for services with you, with the City of Paducah. I think we're in great shape with those. Hopefully you all will be extending or renewing our contract for services a little bit later in this fiscal court's meeting. We've already been approved with the city and the contract there. So we're excited about where we are and beginning fiscal year 21-22. Over this past year, we've gained a lot of momentum engaging our private investors. This past year, we've added 6 additional new investors, bringing our private investor total up to 50. Since I did our last fiscal court presentation, we've added 1 new investor, and we've had 3 private investors or utilities actually increase their financial support with us. So we're humbled and even more excited about the confidence and support that our private investors are showing with GPED. So if we have any of our private investors listening this evening, or if you're listening to this on YouTube and it's taped later, we want you to know how much we appreciate our private investors and their confidence in us and the work that we're doing. I've been on board with GPED now for just a little bit over a year and a half, and during this time we've been talking about building momentum and doing the right things day in and day out. We want to create change. We want to foster an environment for success. And we believe at GPED and our board of directors that success is connected with action. So over the past 12 to 13 months, we've been able to announce 5 projects with 243 direct jobs. Utilizing our partnership with Murray State University and their economic modeling software called M-Plan, we know these 243 direct jobs produce almost another 100 indirect and induced jobs. So bringing the total jobs that we've been associated with during the past 12 to 13 months to 341 jobs. Most recently this month, we've announced 35 new direct jobs with Blockware Mining and Millwork Products. These 2 projects will produce an additional 17 indirect and induced jobs to bring the total job growth for our community up to 52 jobs. Over the past 12 to 13 months, we've had 5 projects that we've announced, and they cumulatively have an investment, a capital investment from the private sector of over $57 million. The recurring annual economic impact from having these jobs in our community is right at $27 million a year. So it's a very nice shot in the arm to stimulate economic activity in our local community. We've been able to secure these jobs and these projects without having to offer any local incentives as well. We're not opposed to local incentives, but we've been able to secure these jobs and working with the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development. The Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development has extended performance-based incentives totaling $575,000 for 3 of the 5 projects. But more importantly than any of this, we've generated $4.7 million of cash, $4.7 million of direct cash back to the community, and that's through asset sales, through the sale of the Genova building, through Genova subsequently, after the sale, June 30th, July 1st last year, paid off a $700,000 equipment loan. So $4.3 million there. We negotiated the sale of land for the Industrial Development Authority at fair market value for economic development purposes in almost 20 years. So we're really excited about that. And we would believe at GPED that we've been a good steward of the community's monies and the community's assets in getting these deals done. This direct cash that has come back to the community has also generated additional benefit and what we call a multiplier effect. We currently have approximately $20 million of capital investment of infrastructure upgrades going on in our community. Big Rivers Electric is in the process of spending $12.7 million to enhance the electrical service up to 100 megawatts at Industrial Park West. Jackson Purchase Electric is in the process of moving and relocating power lines for current and future projects to make the property more marketable. Paducah Water is investing $6 million in a 1 million gallon water tank at Industrial Park West. And we're working with Joint Sewer Agency on the evaluation and design and easements and right-of-way, et cetera, to get sewers out to the triple rail site. So we're very appreciative of our utilities partners and the confidence that they've bestowed in us, and we appreciate their capital investment into our infrastructure. And we see this only as added benefits in promoting our community for future deal. So again, some really nice success, 341 jobs, $4.7 million in cash back to the community, $20 million in infrastructure upgrades, and $27 million in recurring annual economic impact, and over $57 million in direct private company investment into our community. Not only has the job creation, the private company investment, and the utility company investments into our community spurred growth, but these projects have enabled other community investment as well. I mentioned earlier that GPED, we negotiated the sale of the Genova assets to Plastic Services and Products, and cumulatively between the real estate and the personal properties, there was $4.3 million generated from that transaction. The city was able to invest $900,000 of their proceeds after direct debt reduction into Sprocket to promote digital entrepreneurship and workforce development. So we're excited about Sprocket and the things they're doing promoting digital workforce, digital economies, and we see them as a partner, and we applaud them and the efforts that they're doing there. Additionally, we've been discussing with you and in other presentations this year, we've repositioned our economic development assets to the Industrial Development Authority. This restructuring enabled GPED to invest a net $4 million of assets into the IDA. So now the IDA owns and houses publicly owned assets for economic development purposes. And the IDA, as you are aware, has a revenue stream now to service the debt, what little debt is associated with those. But more importantly, we believe the IDA long-term will be positioned to do prospective spec buildings and other economic development activities in the future. So all in all, between Sprocket and what GPED's invested into the IDA, there's been an additional almost $5 million go into economic development projects. Our project pipeline, we all know that sales and development is the lifeblood of any organization. We can share with you this evening that we believe we have a healthy pipeline of projects. We've got a robust pipeline of projects. We have a total of 17 projects on the books now that we are considering active, and this is after having announced 2 of the projects this past month. We believe 6 of these projects are what we would consider to be hot, and we anticipate company decisions on these projects within the next 6 months. And we'll go over these projects with you when we go into executive session in a little bit more detail. So that's all I have prepared for you this evening in open session, but I'd be happy to entertain any questions or thoughts that you might have before we conclude.
So the new jobs, with the new IDA, there'll be a couple of the new jobs that the IDA will get 10% of the occupational tax. So that'll be the data mining?
Yes, that was part of the interlocal agreement.
Okay. And I guess I'm curious, I guess it'll be a while before they actually employ anybody.
They're in the process. They hope to break ground July or August. JP and I were just talking, there's a delay in getting structural steel buildings. But as I understand it, they procured a building and they hope to be moving dirt here the next month to 2 months, something like that. So they're up and operational relatively quickly. So certainly by the end of the year, I think there could be some of that revenue sharing from those occupancy taxes.
That'll be the first one, I guess, how we actually track
Yes.
that and make sure you'll be all over that. What about the sale out of the GPED? Will that be
The sale,
So you sold to the FBI or that building?
yes, that was the sale of 2 at Commerce Park, and we called that project James Bond. They kept that, that involved the DEA, Drug Enforcement, the FBI, the ATF. We were not given a lot of details on that, but we know what the total capital investment is on that, but we do not know the number of FTEs or employees they'll be having out there, but that would be something that...
And I can't remember on the IDA if that sale will, if 10% of that sale will go to the IDA as well?
Yeah, I don't, the interlocal agreement at that time didn't cover the Commerce Park, just because at the time when we started the restructuring, most all of the interest and transactions, et cetera, centered around the Triple Rail site and Industrial Park West.
Yeah, I'll have to look back at that. Let's see. So the 243 jobs, does that include the 35 new jobs?
Yes.
Just looking forward, you know, I talked last time about our pitching game. And what do you see different in the way we're going to present? Are you kind of overwhelmed by existing projects? Or
We
were talking about how we sell ourselves, and you were struggling with a pandemic issue, and it's pretty tough to sell yourself. Just curious as to what the plan is coming out of the pandemic.
We have seen literally 3 times the activity that we saw last year, and we were busy last year. One of the things that we're doing, we had Marketing Alliance was here last week. We're in the process of creating a marketing campaign. They were actually doing video shoots, interviewing some of our local community people. So we'll be rolling that out here in the next 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. So we'll be having an advertising campaign that will be going on. Things are starting to open up. A few weeks ago, I went to New York City and met with 15 different site selectors to start getting our name out there, introducing our community, to try to start developing a relationship with them. As we've gone throughout this year, it's becoming more and more increasingly apparent to me that for us to be successful, we've got to make our own way, right? We take ownership of things, and we would like to hire an additional professional economic development person, kind of that hunter, that gatherer at GPED during this upcoming year. We've actually budgeted it in. So in addition to this person going out and start knocking on private companies, knocking on doors, and my meeting with site selectors and the Kentucky cabinet, we hope to step up our recruiting efforts even more.
Sound like you're a busy man, Bruce.
We've been very blessed, very fortunate.
Thank you.
Very fortunate.
I did see over 200 companies applied for the Codify grants, what I was told this week. So.
I'm sure you all have been over to Cape, but we took a small group over to Cape to see what they did. It's very impressive, you know, and I think our local facility will emulate that. So it really fills a good void. You know, one of the hot topics right now is workforce development for economic development. And Codify, they actually teach people how to code. You don't have to have a high school degree, a college degree or something like that. And I think it's beneficial to companies like CSI, Kaleo Technologies, System Solutions. I'm sure some of these other local companies will benefit from that, in addition to the entrepreneurship and new businesses that are started here.
Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Are you seeing any changes in the business models after the pandemic that instead of being located in an office building in Nashville or St. Louis or New York, that companies are spreading out and maybe having small offices in communities that are outside of the big cities? Is there any activity in that area that you've seen, not just maybe in the rest of Paducah, but in other areas?
I can't speak for other areas, but I can speak for our own community. Teletech's a prime example of that. And we've discussed that. I'm not sure with you, but Deputy Judge Executive Doolittle and Judge Clymer, we've dealt with that. You know, they operated a call center here, and during the pandemic, they figured out how to do it remotely or away from home. So we do have another company, a project that we're working with to try to backfill that space. But we are seeing a transition and a change in that. From talking with the site selectors in New York City, they are seeing somewhat of a change. They think that it sounded fun and was kind of good at first, but people are starting to feel disconnected and think that they're wanting to get back into the workforce. So I think, to your point, Commissioner Bartleman, it may be small groups of people rather than having hundreds or thousands of people in one building.
Kind of knowing when you come home, you get one of them people, and you're screaming baby and the dog barking and all that in the background. You're trying, you know.
Yes.
And it happens a lot.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Bruce. JP, you just watching? You want to say?
What's that?
You just watching? You want to say something?
No, sir, I'm good.
You think he did pretty good, or what?
As long as you think you did good.
I'd like it. All right, and then we have John Colson here from Building and Electric about inspection fees. Come on up, John. He wanted to talk just a little bit about how we were doing on those fees. And
Okay. Copy of the ordinance that deals with our fees.
Should have.
Well, I've got. You need one?
Yeah.
This is a copy of the ordinance. Also got the fees that we've collected in there. Some proposed alterations to the ordinance itself. Make things a little bit more user-friendly for the department, and make it more of a user fee for the people that are using our service.
So there on about 4 pages back is the proposed changes that we're just looking at to discuss tonight. So we can,
Yes, the alterations, the changes to the ordinance, yeah.
yeah. Okay. Run us through that if you would.
Okay, the electrical fees for single-family dwellings have been a nickel a square foot for several years, and we take the square footage of the attached garage off of that. What we'd like to do is change that to 10 cents a square foot for the entire house and leave the garage on part of that as part of the square footage. There's a lot of things in the garage that has to be inspected by our electrical inspector, like the overhead doors, the motors that drive that, the GFCI receptacles. A lot of times there's a water heater in the garage, or even the electric panel itself is in, and it's got to be looked at. Also, the fees for our temporary services are currently $30. You know, if you just need a temporary pole to get started on your construction until you get the building up, we'd like to increase that to $40. That's one of the things that the electrical inspector's got to run all over the county to make sure that they've got electric power just to get the job started. Fees for the mobile homes are currently $40, regardless of how many trips have to be made to ensure compliance. Most of the mobile home hookups have to go through a second inspection, at least a second inspection. In talking with our electrical inspector, Ronnie Gilbert, we think increasing that $40 to between $65 and $75 would be a little bit more keeping with paying for how many trips that we've got to make on those. As far as the building permits, big thing is there's the fees for detached accessory structures are currently 5 cents a square foot. And I have personally issued building permits for as little as $12.50 for these small garages that are going up. And I still have to make anywhere from, depending on how they're built, I have to make 2 to 4 trips out there for each one of those buildings. That just seems like it's just not productive use of the time. We need to kind of bump that up. If we could bump that up to 10 cents a square foot with a $60 minimum. The $60 minimum would cover anything below a 24 by 24 garage, which is very common. Couple of other little things. The ordinance also requires a $50 fee to be collected by our department for all state jurisdiction projects. We have not done that. That has been blown off for years. We need to start collecting that fee as well.
What is a state jurisdiction project? What does that mean?
Typically, it's an occupant load over 100 on a commercial building. That goes to the state. Or a church building that's over an occupant load of 600. So the bigger, juicier projects, we're missing out on all those.
So you're going to collect $50 to the state?
No, we collect $50 from the developer, and that goes, you can call it a zoning fee or something like that, but the building code, or our ordinance rather, requires that to be collected, and we just haven't been doing it, at least for the last 11 years.
So the existing ordinance require that a past city or county administration enacted requires a $50 fee for those.
Yes, it does. It's, let me see, item D on the building plan review fee. And the last thing on there is that the building code requires a demolition permit when a house is torn down. And historically, we have never issued a raise permit. So that may be something that, a $50 fee to tear down a house, or a $40 fee or something like that, just to be in compliance with what the building code requires.
John, how do these fees measure up to like Graves County, Marshall County, Callaway County? You got to include?
I can't speak on the building code part of it, but the electrical, typically the electrical inspectors in Western Kentucky charge $75 a trip. So if they go out to a building 4 times, that's $300 they're collecting.
And we collect what?
Depends on square footage of the building. Theirs is a flat fee. It's a flat $75 fee.
Square foot.
But yeah, we do 5 cents a square foot, and that's supposed to cover all of the electrical inspections. Also, in case there's, if there's a deficiency found in the house and the inspector has to go back, that's another trip. Typically we do 3 inspections on the electrical, and if there's deficiency on there, one of those inspections or all of them could be repeated. And if, building code's the same way. Rarely do we go in and pass a building on the first try, because they always miss something,
Well, we had some discussions too about, I think all these things, perhaps the one that seems most necessary to address is you having to go back. There's a code. Some builders, maybe just the homeowners, will try to pass the inspection with knowing that perhaps they've not done all they need to do.
Oh yeah, that's common.
And so there's no incentive for them to get it right the first time. You go out, inspect it, say, hey, you've got to do not just A, B, and C, you got to do A through F, and you've done A and B. And when you get that done, holler. And so you're going back 4 or 5 times, and it doesn't cost them anything more to try to get by with doing less. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, it costs you time and fuel and manpower to do that. So
yeah, but the flip side of that is I wouldn't want to be accused of somebody saying that, well, you came out and you found 3 things, then you came back to check those and you found some more, so that's another trip, and you're just trying to, gig us on more trips and more fees and all this kind of stuff. I personally think it's better to get all the fees up front, and then that's the end of the money thing, But But yeah, people typically do try to get by with stuff.
You feel like
Yeah, go figure, right?
so you feel like our fees will be more friendly, user-friendly than
Yes, our fees are friendlier as far as the electrical fees.
presently are? Will they be, how will we compare? I guess Jeff asked you the same question, but I thought you said we were still going to be cheaper than Graves County. Is that what you said?
Yes, we would be. We would be. And now that's predicated on, having 3 inspections and they all go well and there's no return trips and all that. But yeah, if everything follows the plan, yeah, we come out cheaper than the other places.
Even after these increases?
No, I'm speaking now as our fees are now.
I mean, I'm okay to raise them, but I'd like to know how they size up after we raise them, though. I mean, I don't want to be the highest guy around, in other words.
Well, I know the electrical inspector gets, the guy that does the circuit, he gets $75 a shot. Isn't that Mr. Kreider? He was getting $75 per inspection while our electrical inspector was off, dealing with his father's illness.
Do you have contact with some of the surrounding county that are in your position?
Yes.
Could you get from them what their rates are, that sort of thing? Give us some guidance on. We want to be a fair player in the marketplace, and the other thing, of course, is I hear from people occasionally, they'll say, if you increase this rate it's going to cost me an extra $10 to build my house, I'm going to move to Graves County and build over there. And so we frequently are able to tell them, well, if you build over there, it's going to cost you, an extra more money than that.
Yeah.
And the taxes in some counties are higher than, what they are here. And so if we can do a comparison on some of the broader areas, it'll give us some help in deciding if this is something we want to do.
I can look into
We
that.
won't leave anything on the table either. That way we'll know where we need to fall in with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of those people that complain about, the inspection process and all that, they don't understand or just won't admit to it that it's a state law. It applies throughout the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
This is not something that we made up over drinks one night. This is state law. It's just that it's not being enforced in other places. And other places, I would be willing to say that they're getting substandard construction.
Okay.
If you leave the rebar out of the foundation work and all that, yeah, you've got a lesser product. So you're just kind of ripping your clients off. But there's a market for those people.
Yeah. Yeah. So people, I guess that's like say the flip side. People don't recognize that when they're paying that fee to you to come inspect their property, they probably are not building their house themselves. They've hired somebody to do that and build it according to code and under safe regulations and get their money's worth. You're coming out there and telling them, hey, this is not done properly. This is maybe even dangerous, or it's substandard.
Right.
And it's for that $50 or $75 or whatever. They get an opinion on their $250,000 house that they're not getting the product that they bargained for with their builder. So, I mean, that's
Yeah, we treat everybody as poorly as the next guy, as far as the inspections go. We kick them all around
You've
occasionally.
never been a salesman, have you, John?
No, I'm just a realist.
I like the adjusting fees, but I think we need to know where we need to land on. So.
Okay. I can look into that and see what the other guys are doing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else for John? Well,
I agree with the judge. I think it's important. Inspections are important. I built a house and they were doing the foundation. The fellow putting in the basement was not going to have the right rebar in it. And I think you did the inspection on my house.
Yes, I did.
Told him that the rebar wasn't right. He wasn't happy, but he made the rebar right. And my house hadn't fallen down, so I guess it helped it. So.
That's good. That's good.
So I think it is.
We try to keep them upright, when
it
we can.
really protects the property owner, as the judge mentioned.
Yes, it is.
Make
It's
sure done right,
for your $300 building permit fee. That's a pretty cheap insurance policy against shoddy construction.
and they pay, if you're building a house, you pay the electrical fee of 5 cents and the building fee of 5 cents.
No, the building fee is 15 cents a square foot for the main level. If there's any other levels, either above or below that, they're just 10 cents a square foot.
Okay. Plus the electrical cost, or is that?
Plus the electrical,
Okay.
yes. And the electrical is 5 cents a square foot, regardless of what level it's on. It's just, And when we get to great big houses, like we had one that has 22,000 square feet under roof, that was a large fee, coming for the electrical part of that, but it was also an awful lot of area to cover.
I think we have an obligation to the taxpayer too to try to make inspections self-sufficient so people who use the service.
Make them user fees instead of being subsidized, yeah.
We probably can't get there totally because it protects the county too, but I think we do need to adjust these and other fees. Again, it still isn't unreasonable if you're building a $250,000 house to pay another $125 for a permit. So I think these look pretty good.
So we don't have an ordinance yet. This is a pre-planning meeting for the ordinance that's coming?
No, the ordinance has been in effect since '99.
I mean the changes.
Oh, the changes, no, they haven't been in effect or anything. I was just bringing them up.
So it will require a two reading ordinance to change.
Yeah, we just put it on to
get some direction.
So you'll know what we're looking at. Maybe you like some of it, maybe you don't. We'll bat it around. So, and I'll tell you, John, you and your people, one way gauge the performance of some of our departments is how many complaints there are, and we just don't get complaints from the...
I'll work on that. Now, like I said...
Maybe you're having the other people go out and do this.
Yeah, I stay at the office and hide behind the desk while the other guys go out and take the fire.
But, y'all do a great job for us. So.
Well, we try to put out the fires before they get too big, and as long as we can achieve compliance with the spirit of the code and what it intends to do for the buildings and stuff, we can find alternate ways to do that. And very seldom is it that I can't solve a problem with a design failure in a house. So we can work all that stuff out when it's still on paper. It saves people a lot of money doing that.
All right, anything else, John? All right.
Very good.
Appreciate it. I wanted to just mention briefly, since it's occurring tomorrow, and there's been a good bit of publicity go out, invitations and that sort of thing about the water tower project out in Reedland. We're going to have a celebration of that water tower completion tomorrow at 12:10 p.m. on the north side steps of the courthouse out here. We've got a agenda put together, and we're going to have since it's so hot, we're going to have a fairly short 30-45 minutes or so program. Channel 6 is going to live stream it for us. There's been a lot of coverage. I was on the Dunker show this morning, did a recording. I didn't even make it up the hill before I heard it playing. Our media folks have really been helping us with promoting that. And of course, Paducah Water, I wanted to just talk a little more about that tomorrow, but Paducah Water and the city gave us the authorization to use that tower as our canvas to put that unity symbol on there. And so we appreciate them as well. So hopefully I want to invite everybody, and particularly those folks who gave generously, as all of you did, to the water tower project. And some came forward even there toward the end and said, hey, how much money do you actually need to get this done? Just tell me the number, and we'll write the check. And so we had about 4 or 5 different entities, people or businesses that said that. The temptation was, of course, to give them all the same number, but I couldn't get myself to do that. But anyway, so CFSB Bank in Benton actually was the first one to jump on. I think it was $7,600 that they donated to this thing. Right, 76 or 67? Am I going? 76, wasn't it? Yeah. And several others had said they would do the same thing. So when I finally gave him that number, he didn't sound like he dropped the phone or anything. He just wrote the check. So appreciate all that. All right, we got under section 5 here, tabled and or past items from previous meeting. Let's see, we need the clerk to read that order, I guess.
Read number 8.
5A, yes, ma'am.
Okay. It is ordered that the judge executive is authorized to sign the service agreement with JPEDC to pay the amount of $250,000 to JPEDC for fiscal year 2021-2022.
So moved.
I think you meant G, and you said J.
J, I did, didn't I? It is G.
Well. Yeah.
That Jackson Purchase gets me here once in a while.
So moved.
Second. All right, any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. B.
It is ordered that KRS Chapter 67, the first reading of Ordinance 2021-06 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. McCracken County, Kentucky, McCracken County Fiscal Court, Ordinance 2021-06. An ordinance amending the McCracken County zoning code as set forth in McCracken County Ordinance number 2017-07 as amended by enacting a new section thereto authorizing the use of commercial food trucks and establishing related regulations. Summary. The action effectuated in the present ordinance is authorized by Kentucky Revised Statutes Chapter 100, and all actions in relation to the enactment were taken in strict compliance with KRS Chapter 100 and all McCracken County local regulations enacted pursuant to the same. This ordinance operates to amend the McCracken County zoning ordinance regulations by creating a new section entitled Section 150.41 Mobile Food Trucks, authorizing the commercial use of the same within McCracken County zones classified as commercial, heavy industry, and light industry, and otherwise complying with the regulations provided therein. Certification. It is hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate and official statement of the main points of the contents of Ordinance Number 2021-06. Public inspection. A true and correct copy of Ordinance Number 2021-06 shall be made available for public inspection in its whole and complete form by the Office of the McCracken County Judge Executive during ordinary business hours.
So we passed on that last meeting. I'll tell you, I took some time and just read through the proposed ordinance. I feel like it's that we need to discuss this thing and get maybe a little more specific on some of these things and whether we even want to enact it or not. We've got the ordinance written. I have some concerns about some of the things that it does not address. I've talked to Greg Cannon. We used another local ordinance as a sort of a go-by, and being a lawyer like we are, and then retired judge, we looked down in the deep down in the weeds, down under the roots, and on down into the the lava flows, and look at these languages. And I don't know if you gentlemen are are satisfied with the wording. If we need to tweak it some more. I've even heard some feedback on whether we want to, there's a philosophical thing here that's underlying this, and I think it is that, well, specifically, might as well talk specifics. We have a person who owns a small lot out there nearby Chick-fil-A restaurant, wants to put some food trucks on there, and so that's what we're trying to decide. Do we want to, if we're going to put them out there, we need some control over what they'll be and regulations pertaining to it. But the first, seems to me, the philosophical or theoretical issue is, do we want to allow relatively small expenditure of food trucks to go in our community and set up and perhaps detract from the business of brick and mortar large expenditure restaurants like Chick-fil-A, and of course it would be applicable to other places that food trucks maybe want to set up and that sort of thing. Do we want to allow that? And if we do, what kind of regulations do we want? On the surface of it, just looking at it quickly, although it's called mobile food vehicles, there's nothing in this ordinance that says they have to be mobile. They can go in there, and I don't see anything keeps them from being there until Gabriel blows her horn. There's no requirement of moving. There's no requirement that it be movable. There's no time limit. There's no size limit. A trailer could be 60-foot long trailer. So just bringing all those things up for in this first reading and decide. We have to test these things. Got to make that sausage out in the public. So, what do you think?
Can we get Greg Cannon and tell us how the city does theirs? I know Greg and I have talked 2 or 3 times, just for instance, what you brought up. Chick-fil-A, was it, they paying $7,800 in property taxes, something like that?
It was more than that.
It was more than that?
Yeah.
Maybe $70,000. I don't know. It was a huge amount compared to setting a food truck there beside it. And, it's not going to put them out of business, but it'll get in their pocket a little bit.
Well, Greg's our zoning administrator, and under this, he would also be the, what was that called? The mobile food administrator. You get another title. We'll give you an extra little badge. But so, what do you think? You're wanting to know how the city...
I think we'd be better off to line ourselves with them if we can.
Yeah. Well, and that's pretty much what we did. Steve Urban wrote this when he was with the city. So we had the benefit of him knowing what worked, what didn't. So we used the city's ordinance as a guideline. Now, of course, with the city, there's some things that it's specific to downtown, doesn't apply to us. So we stripped all of that out. There were some things that he found through the operation of it. He didn't like the way it worked. So we either amended it or took it out entirely. And it's considerably shorter than what the city's ordinance is, but the overall goal and the purpose is very consistent. And what regulations we have in place are consistent with what the city has. One thing city has that we don't have in here is that they have a requirement a food truck can only be located in one location for 14 days. After 14 days, it has to move, and it cannot come back to that same location for 30 days. Because the one thing I keep hearing is the concern about this becoming a permanent fixture. And I think that's a legitimate concern. And if we put in this regulation, that way it matches what the city has, and it will stop these food trucks from replacing brick and mortar, because we are going to have to move.
What about the judge's other concerns about truck being too big? I guess the present draft doesn't mirror the cities, but you're suggesting that sometime in between now and the second reading, when are we going to make it look like the cities?
It looks like the cities.
It is now.
Yeah.
But where's the 14?
Well, without the
Yeah, that was
It seems to me to be the most important paragraph.
well, and I'll tell you the reason we left that one out, and that was because in the last, is either last summer or summer before last, the state amended some regulations that they had a requirement saying food trucks could only locate for 14 days and then had to move and could not relocate at the same spot for 30 days. The state did away with that regulation. And that was the reason we did not include it in here, because that was going to be consistent with what the state's now saying. That doesn't mean we can't regulate it to this, though.
I would be deeply concerned, like I guess the judge is, and maybe you are as well, that we just don't want to create a trailer park of food that has permanent trailers.
I think that's what you're doing.
Yeah. So if we limited them to 14 days and then not allow them back for 30 days.
Can you get us some size constraints in there too? I mean, what happens when one of those fire chiefs out there, what happens if the one in the middle catches on fire and he's 45 foot long and he can't get around, or one on each side of it? Have we looked at all those? I mean, how many trailers are going to go in out there?
5 of them.
5 of them.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, it's going to be an issue.
Yeah, I guess I need to. I don't mind doing it between the first and second, but I think that property is right next to the city. I think the same. It ought to be the same. Our food truck requirements ought to be almost exactly the same. I'm trying to think why we would have any difference in the cities. What would be the benefit of us having a better food truck ordinance? I mean, by better, I mean something that makes better in my view is I want food trucks at Noble Park. I want them downtown. I want them traveling around. I don't want to create, and I don't think anyone here wants to create just a cheaper way to get in business and not worry about the aesthetics of our community.
Right. Now, what we've cut out that, while this doesn't match the city exact, the city talks about locations downtown within restaurants, and we've kept some of that, like saying it has to be at 100 feet from an operating restaurant. That was taken directly from the city. They've got other requirements in there. Their fire inspector inspects all food trucks. We don't have a fire inspector.
That's what I was getting at. There's going to be a problem come up pretty quick because some of them guys are. Well, there's tough to do. I mean,
there's a lot of food
Chief
trucks.
Kyle knows what I'm talking about. They don't have fire extinguishers. They don't have nothing.
Right. And frankly, what's going to be their cost? What's going to be their user fee for you going out and enforcing the food truck ordinance? So you get 5 hot dogs. What do you get?
Do y'all charge for inspection or?
We don't on our side. Planning has something to do with the permit. We're not engaged in the permit piece except to do the fire inspection on the truck or the trailer, as it might be.
But it doesn't open unless everything's in line.
That's true, and you're correct. We get violations ranging from electrical to gas leaks. Lots of problems get encountered with those.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the older food trucks don't even meet state requirements. Is that?
Well, we only inspect the state requirements. The ordinance is the fire standard that's out there for mobile food vehicles.
I can answer that one for you. If it doesn't pass the state inspection, as far as water and all that, then the county gets inspected every time health department, and they get it's either 75 or $100 every time it gets set up.
Right. What I'm
So
getting
it
at,
doesn't have to pass state, it
the
won't
fire
pass
code has
county.
changed. I believe you and I had a conversation about a couple months ago about that the state was changing some of their requirements.
The
And
state's currently so far behind in the adopted fire code. It's from 2012. It doesn't even have mobile food trucks in it.
Yeah.
There's a whole mobile food truck standard out the state hasn't officially adopted yet, that the city did adopt into their ordinance so that we could at least have a minimum standard to inspect them to. And as Commissioner Parker is highlighting, we find many, many problems in just comparing them to that standard. And it's not an overreaching standard, it's just basic requirements.
I don't want the pressure of having to amend an ordinance in between the first and second reading on this one so that somebody can open a food truck. I would rather just get it right on the first reading, so I move that we pass this again.
Can we pass it with him doing the upgrades to the amendment so we bring it back next time and we'll get a first reading?
Yeah, I want it to match. I would prefer, me personally, that we follow the city almost entirely. And I realize there may be some things that don't make sense because of where they won't be located downtown, but I want to be just as protective of public interest as the city is.
so I believe if you sat down with the two of them side by side right now, well, adding in that 30-day regulation, I think you, from that standpoint, the cities and the counties matching up, I think you would be content with that.
Well, you can make my job easier by sending me the city ordinance. I know how to get it. It just takes me a minute to remember.
It's already pulled up on my computer screen. Before I head to the house, it will be emailed to you.
Well, so
My motion is
I
passed.
think we also have to have a safety inspection in there, like the fire department does on theirs. We don't want some old unit out there that's going to have a faulty propane tank that's going to blow up when there's 10 kids waiting for their hot dog.
Well, now one issue we run into that is who does it and who is qualified to do it.
We have to figure that out. I mean, for safety reasons, unless the chief wants to volunteer to do the counties too. More than likely, they're going to be located in the city and the county probably. So they're going to have a city inspection.
This might be the
So
Olympics.
you could add something if they've already gotten approved through the city, that might work for you.
This might be a spot that the city could annex and we wouldn't be upset about it.
You can go get it pretty quick.
If you'd annex it within the next 2 weeks, we wouldn't have to worry about it.
And is there anything in here that says they have to have permission where they park? I mean, can they pull into the Walmart parking lot if they wanted to and set up?
They have to have the property owner's permission.
And is that in here? I glanced through it, didn't see that.
I don't think that specifically is in here. It's just a matter of, it's just a known that you can't just pull up on somebody's parking lot and start a business.
They could pull into a church parking lot somewhere. I think we need to be specific. They do have to have permission. You're right. You would think they would, but they might not. If they sit there for one night, and I think there's going to be a fee too for their permit when they get their permit for processing.
You want to second my motion?
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing anything about a fee, is there, Greg?
No, we did not. I'm good with it because I know it's going to. I've been with the city's planner and seen when he's processed applications that come in. So I have an idea of how much time it's going to take and that. And it's going to take up a fair amount of time if we get very many applications.
Does the city address the city's fee for them setting up, or are we going to have a county fee?
Well, we can add that in.
Okay. Well, I'd like to second his motion, but I'd like for it to come back with all that in it.
Okay.
Well, see, that's why we put it on tonight is to, well, the distinction being 2 weeks ago, we just passed on it because we needed to think over it or manipulate the language, put things in here. Of course, we can't do that outside of a meeting. So here's our meeting to express what do we want in this thing? I think there's been some different suggestions. It's just, I don't know. I guess having worked with things like this for many, many years and examining the language and what it, I always look at the extremes to see whether something, and sometimes the extremes are not as extreme as reality comes along, and somebody brings a 60-foot tractor trailer out there and says, here's my towable food truck, and they go to work.
Are you going to address alcohol in there too? You might well make a note to see what.
Okay.
And who's going to issue the permit?
Yeah.
Are we going to have a business license?
I know when I pull mine, I love to sell beer, so I mean this has to be addressed.
Yeah. Well, my thoughts on that, though, is that if we do allow the alcohol sales because they are mobile, it's allowed in commercial zones, light industry and heavy industry. In the county, a lot of the commercial zones and the light industry and heavy industry zones are in dry precincts. So if we do allow that, more often than not, they're going to be located somewhere where they're not going to be able to sell alcohol to begin with. So if we even allow that at all, it's going to be difficult.
But I think you're right. If they get that caterer's license, you can't stop them from selling in a dry precinct.
Just
check. Put it in that ordinance.
Well, they could be allowed to sell alcohol if they're in a wet area, and not if they're not. The way y'all expressed everything you want, I'm not sure.
I think we're heading in the right direction.
Okay.
Y'all need to vote on it. You passed it.
All right. There was a motion. Was there a motion and a second?
Motion and a second.
All right. Any more discussion? All in favor of passing? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right. We'll pass her again. Take another stab at it.
I assume you've got a list of what all our concerns were, the fees, the safety, all those other things. The location, permission, make sure that's specified.
Let's see where we are.
I think we're on 6.
We're on 6, yeah. Okay, 6.
Ready? It is ordered that the judge executive is authorized to enter into an agreement with the Construction Safety Consultants Incorporated for safety services and drug screening for the McCracken County Road Department at a unit price and hourly rates in accordance with the agreement for the fiscal year 2021-2022. Further, the judge is authorized to execute any documents necessary to enter into said agreement with CSC.
So made.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Chris.
All in favor, aye. Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered that the treasurer is authorized to pay to United Rentals an amount not to exceed $8,637.94 for the rental of the lift crane used in the water tower project. This is to be paid from the water tower project account.
So made.
Second.
I got that invoice in today, and I didn't look carefully at it, but I believe it was more than that.
Oh. More than the 8637?
I'm thinking it was, but Steve Irvin wasn't here today for me to talk to him about it.
Oh.
But, I mean, we can pass this, and if it is, I can't pay it until the next time. Or whatever y'all want to do, but I think it was more than that.
You don't remember how much more? I mean, it was a little bit, or?
It seems like it was 9,000 and something is what it seems like it was. So I don't know if it was because they had to do extra, they had to go out there and do extra stuff. I don't know.
We amended and sent out to exceed 10,000.
Oh.
So I could have paid or well, we don't.
Well, we thought that we were gonna be done with it sooner than the rental term was.
Yeah, he didn't think it was going to exceed that, and I wished I
And
looked
we
at
got
that.
done in a shorter time, or he did, in a shorter time
only
than anticipated.
3 weeks versus a month or something. but I still think it was over that amount. But I'd like
Let's,
for him to look at it before I do
I think we ought
anything
to
with
pass
it.
it.
Yeah.
Public scrutiny
I
on this
think
project.
so too, and I'll find out why we're having to pay more than what the fee was when we returned it, or made it available to be returned quicker. Maybe they weren't able to get on the property.
I need you to withdraw your motion then.
I withdraw my motion and we'll pass on it.
You want to make a motion to pass now?
Make a motion to pass.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, it carries. C,
It is ordered that the treasurer is authorized to pay to Steve Irvin the amount of $168.82 to reimburse him for his mileage traveling to obtain additional paint for the water tower project, which will be paid from the water tower project account.
So made.
Second.
so that, let's see, what was that now? That was, we needed an extra gallon of paint. And it was located down in Tennessee somewhere. And so, just, I thought it was interesting that if we had not sent Steve to go bucks or something, well, there it is, 100.
Well, that was his mileage.
That was just his mileage,
I
but the
think,
paint
to go
was
get it.
160 or pounds on it. But anyway, it was going to charge, they were going to put, if we hadn't sent him down there, they were going to put it on a 40-foot truck, a gallon of paint on a 40-foot truck and drive it to Paducah and back. So we thought maybe it'd be cheaper for Steve to run down there and pick it up.
But this $168.82 is not taxpayer money that we've raised, that has been raised through the effort, through charitable donation.
Yeah, all of this is, everything to do with the tower is all donated money. So the motion, I lost track.
I think we're ready to vote.
I think you're ready to vote. I've got a motion and a second.
All in favor, aye. All right, we've got, let's see.
D.
Yeah.
It is ordered that the Hazmat 1 be paid $20,000 from account number 015135416, being the same for the fiscal year 2021 annual budgeted allotment for Hazmat 1.
So made.
Second.
And we got Chief Kyle. Would you kind of fill us in on, I thought maybe it'd be a good show and tell tonight to learn just a little bit about Hazmat 1 and there's an interesting little thing about how we had been paying hazmat that this changes.
Sure. I'll address the team as a whole to begin with. Roughly in 2004, 2005, we got $1.5 million of grant monies through Homeland Security. This is all post 9/11 money that came out that they were just, doing everything they could to get WMD prepared. Our community put all of our money into 2 trucks and all the equipment to go with that to be housed locally. At the time, West McCracken Fire Department was housing it. The problem with the grant money that came was no maintenance money came behind it. And that has been the struggle ever since, is maintaining the equipment. We have stretched the current inventory of equipment, and a lot of it is perishables that you have to replace regularly. But the instrumentation, high-dollar equipment that is tens of thousands of dollars, we've used it all of its useful life. It's obsolete now, and we are in the process of replacing all of that equipment. I have immediate plans to expend about $150,000 in funds to replace that instrumentation to keep us operational. About 4 or 5 years ago, I did a little bit of a road show to the other counties to try to get them to participate. We have been successful in that. We haven't collected any money in 2 years, I think. We had COVID, and it was in one fiscal year crossing another. So we haven't collected any money in addition the last couple of years, but we're trying to get revived and get equipment replaced. You guys specifically, because McCracken is the home county where the team was organized out of, you had never directly contributed to the team. Whatever money that was budgeted, I had to expend through the finance office with a purchase order from McCracken County for those funds. The other counties write us a check, and we put that money into a bank account that you all have a board member on that serves. The team's an incorporated entity under county government is the proper way to say that, under emergency management guidelines. And Lewis Carr is the McCracken County board member. So I report to the board, and they manage the funds and expenditures, approve all of our stuff, just largely like what we do right here. So additionally, besides explaining a little bit about the team, I called Steve and asked him if we could change our operating procedure for the expending the funds. Because I have such a large expenditure going on, it's troublesome to try to spend money out of 2 or 3 different places and follow everybody's each individual rules, as you can imagine. And if we could change that process going forward. The team is still currently housed in McCracken. The equipment sits at Paducah Fire, and then we have a truck and trailer back out at the McCracken County Emergency Management Complex that was in Murray. They are no longer able to support the team. The city of Paducah supports it with 4 staff members rolling out the door every time it's got to go. So that's kind of a synopsis. Very expensive equipment and a lot of maintenance involved.
Any question about it?
How often is this equipment used? I know when you need it, but how often?
Thankfully, not a lot. We average a handful of times a year, usually. And the equipment, specific equipment that I'm talking about purchasing right now is the instrumentation that allows us to identify substances as to what something is. You may remember when we had the white powder scares all kind of there in a window there, we were able to identify substances as to tell what it was. We can do biological identification, chemical identification, and detect, isotopes from nuclear incidents. We have all that ability right here in our backyard.
In our other counties, you said they haven't contributed in a couple of years, but have they in recent years?
Yes, oh yes.
Contributed. Now, that was a problem.
Yeah, early on, I couldn't get anybody to give me any money other than McCracken. And I've had the team housed in Paducah since 2010, I think. And, just kept at it, kept hounding them. And Marshall and Graves and Callaway, and every county does theirs a little differently, but at the end of the day, if they just give us some money and let us operate the team. We don't ask for a lot. We have about $75,000 that we try to budget per year to operate the team on, and that's not for any paying anybody. That's just for fuel and perishables and to get equipment recalibrated. That's all that's for.
Is there any grant money available, considering the interstates we have to go through here?
Not anymore. All that money's dried up.
I know before the city took it over, there were some maintenance issues on that equipment. I know one time I went on a tour of it, and some of the equipment in there that's battery operated, batteries hadn't been charged in a long time, and the equipment didn't work because it wasn't maintained. I think when the city took it over, I think you are pretty diligent in keeping it all operational.
Well, we try to be. It's, that equipment has to be, a lot of it has to be sent off. And so, I don't have a full-time guy dedicated to that all the time or a full-time person dedicated to it. It's a community effort, so to speak, to keep it up and going. And I use the city's fleet to keep the trucks up and running, as needed. So we put considerable amount of effort to keep it going.
And and you have a special team that operates that if you have a call of a chemical.
We do. We have 12 people trained hazardous materials technician level, and we still have other communities that still support the team. It's a regional team. It goes to all 8 counties in the Jackson Purchase region. We still have others from counties scattered out that assist and support the team.
It always concerns me with the interstate in town. You never know what's going through town and something's going to happen at some point. So I guess it's good that you don't use it, but very often. But it's good that we have it.
I am thankful, yes.
So that you have it when you do need it. So
that's right. It's served us well every time we've had to use it and deploy it.
Okay, anything else? All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, board appointments.
Did we vote on that?
I think we did.
Oh, did we?
We did.
You want to do it again?
No, I just couldn't, I
Okay.
couldn't remember. Okay, sorry.
We'll do it again so we make sure we did it. Y'all
I
vote.
don't think we did.
We had a motion and a second.
And we got a motion and a second. That I have down.
Oh, okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
I'm for
Opposed,
it.
no? Okay, okay.
Now we made sure.
Judge, I had Michelle go get the invoice for me so we could look at it. I hated for them not to get paid, so here's what the total was, and of course the tax all have removed because we're tax exempt. So it was a little bit less with the tax off of it. I just saw the total of over 9,000.
So actually, it's 8548. And that's what
I didn't
underneath
notice
the
it had
86.
tax on it.
What was it, 86, 80 something?
Yes, so actually we could pass that
86.36.
order and be fine.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
We'll go back and pick it up.
Let's go back and do it.
Go back and pick it up.
Yeah.
All right.
You want me to read it again, or you
Yeah,
want to?
yes, please.
Okay. It is ordered that the treasurer is authorized to pay United Rentals an amount not to exceed $8,637.94 for the rental of the lift crane used in the water tower project. This is to be paid from the water tower project account.
So made.
Second.
And so with the, it was 8548. They put on their bill tax, $512 that we don't pay. That came to 9,060, so it'll be 8548. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no? That carries. That's again donated money, no taxpayer money. The board appointment.
It is ordered that the order reappointing Riff Turner to the Extension Board dated June 14, 2021 was in error and is vacated. Mr. Turner's original order of appointment dated June 25, 2018 failed to set out a term beginning date or expiration, and further failed to set out that Mr. Turner was being appointed to complete the term of David Watt, which term was expiring on December 31, 2018. Therefore, it is further ordered that Riff Turner is reappointed to the Extension Board to serve a 3-year term beginning January 1st, 2022 and expiring on December 31st, 2024, subject to further order of the court.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no? That carries. Ordinances.
All right. It is hereby ordered that pursuant KRS Chapter 67, the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2021-7 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. Commonwealth of Kentucky, McCracken County Fiscal Court, ordinance number 2021.07, an ordinance amending the McCracken County zoning code as set forth in the McCracken County ordinance number 2017-7, as amended by repealing existing procedural provisions related to amendments and development plans in their entirety and enacting replacement procedural provisions related to the same. Summary. The action effectuated in the present ordinance is authorized by the Kentucky Revised Statutes, Chapter 100, and all actions in relation to its enactment will be taken in strict compliance with KRS Chapter 100 and all McCracken County local regulations enacted pursuant to the same. This ordinance operates to amend the McCracken County zoning ordinance regulations by repealing in its entirety previous existing provision of Section 150.109 related to the procedures required for making amendments to documents and instruments connected with various local zoning matters and the specific requirements related to development plans to facilitate administrative economy and strict compliance with Kentucky statutory law. Certification. It is hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statement of the main points and the contents of ordinance number 2021-07. Public inspection. A true and correct copy of ordinance number 2021-7 shall be made available for public inspection in its whole and complete form by the Office of the McCracken County Judge Executive during ordinary business hours.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It carries.
It is ordered pursuant to KRS Chapter 67, the second reading and adoption of ordinance 2021-08 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. McCracken County, Kentucky, McCracken County Fiscal Court, ordinance number 2021-08. An ordinance amending the McCracken County subdivision regulations is set forth in the McCracken County Ordinance Number 2017-07 as amended by enacting an amendment to the provisions related to subdivided lots and their relationships to streets. Summary. The action effectuated in the present ordinance is authorized by the Kentucky Revised Statutes, Chapter 100. All actions in relation to its enactment were taken in strict compliance with KRS Chapter 100 and all McCracken County local regulations enacted pursuant to the same. This ordinance operates to amend the McCracken County subdivision regulation by allowing up to 3 lots to share a privately established and maintained way of ingress or egress. It is certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statement of the main points of the contents of ordinance number 2021-08. Public inspection. A true and correct copy of the ordinance number 2021-08 shall be made public for public inspection in its whole and complete form in the McCracken County Judge Executive's office during ordinary business hours.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It carries.
It is ordered that pursuant KRS Chapter 67, the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2021-09 shall be conducted in the summary format as follows. Commonwealth of Kentucky Fiscal Court Ordinance number 2021-09. An ordinance repealing in its entirety the McCracken County Ordinance number 2016-8, setting forth the previous form of the McCracken County Administrative Code and enacting a replacement administrative code containing all amendments enacted subsequential to the initial passage of the McCracken County Ordinance number 2016-08. Summary. The present action is mandated by KRS 67.710 and KRS 68.005 and operates to repeal in its entirety the current McCracken County Administrative Code as previously enacted by ordinance number 2016-08 and containing the numerous amendments enacted subsequent to its initial passage. The present action allows the full incorporation of all such subsequential amendments into a single self-contained code for ease of administration and more efficient notice of and compliance with its provisions. Certification. It is hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statement of the main points and the contents of ordinance number 2021-09. Public inspection. McCracken Ordinance number 2021-09 shall be available for public inspection in its whole and complete form in the McCracken County Judge Exec's office during ordinary business hours.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? So that was quite a bit of work. There were Michelle, Human Resources Administrator, and Doolittle, and I think you guys had some input in that. We all had a whack at it. And I think we got it cleaned up very nicely, amended various things that needed to be amended. So they did a good job on it.
Thank you.
So all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered that pursuant KRS Chapter 67, the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2021-10 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. An ordinance amending McCracken County Ordinance 2020-08 by making revisions to the proposed fiscal year 2020-2021 operating budget allocations pertaining to the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, ARPA funds, and contingent appropriations in strict compliance with the mandates of Kentucky Revised Statutes, Chapter 68. Summary: the present ordinance makes revisions to Ordinance 2020-08, McCracken County proposed fiscal year 2020-2021 operating budget pertaining to the modifications of allocations pertaining to ARPA funds and contingent appropriations. Certification. It is hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statement of the main points of and the contents of ordinance number 2021-10. Public inspection. Ordinance number 2021-10 shall be available for public inspection in its whole and complete form in the McCracken County Judge Executive's office during ordinary business hours.
So made.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. All right, need a motion to go into executive session.
So made.
Second.
Oh, I need to.
I was going to say you need to give me a,
Yeah.
Give you a reason.
little
you got to give me a reason.
cheat sheet over here. Let's see. So the reason for going into executive session would be future sale or acquisition of a specific parcel of real estate as permitted by KRS 618101B. And a specific proposal by a business entity where public discussion of the subject matter would jeopardize the location, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a business entity as permitted by KRS 618101G. All in favor, aye. Opposed, no. That carries. Then we won't have any action afterwards, so we have a motion to adjourn when we come back. So there's a motion to adjourn after we reconvene from executive session. All in favor, aye. Second.
But Eddie didn't say.
I did.